All right, Chris Hani's killer, Janusz Walus, will remain behind bars. Justice Minister Minister Masutha announced today that he's denied Walus parole again. He has tried several times through the courts to secure his release after around 25 years. Walus currently serving a life term in a Pretoria prison for the 1993 assassination of Chris Hani, the then General Secretary of the South African Communist Party. Clive Derby-Lewis, who had supplied Walus with the gun that was used to kill Hani, was released in 2015. That was after serving 22 years, and he died a year later. Let's find out more. We're joined by the Minister Masutha from our studio in Pretoria. Minister, thank you for being with us. The issue of Janusz Walus and his parole is a very emotive one in South Africa. Many South Africans want him to stay in jail, but you as Minister have to be fair and objective. Do you believe that you have been in this case?
Certainly. In making decisions of this kind, am advised, as is required by the law, by evidence that's put before me. In this instance, we're referring to reports of psychologists, which viewed holistically led me to conclude that at this stage I do not have firm evidence that persuade me to make the decision to place him on parole, and that I believe that taking into account also the recommendations of his own psychologist, who feels that he has episodes of this disruption in their background.
Minister, I can hear that, and I'm terribly sorry about it, but please continue. Just tell us about the contradictions in these psychological reports. I think somebody was saying he feels suicidal, but maybe someone not.
Well, suicidal is one thing, but there's also reference to anger episodes, which suggest an emotionally unstable character. Now, with somebody who committed an offense of this nature, of this violent nature, you generally err on the side of caution when you make decisions relating to their placement on parole. This is something that we deal with in respect of thousands of applications of lifers, referring to my specific involvement in the parole process. Do you mean
he can still be a threat to society, Minister?
Well, that's what I really want to get to the bottom of. Hence, I've requested the two psychologists who appear to me to have arrived at divergent conclusions to come together and do a joint assessment of the inmate or offender in order to try and minimize this clear areas of conflicting conclusions, so that we try as much as possible to come to some kind of a common appreciation of the state of the offender relative to his offending behavior.
Minister, to what extent do you look at things like remorse? So this was a man, he hated communists, he was a racist, he said the ANC would destroy things that whites had built. Do you believe he's still that?
Well, according to the one psychologist report, and that's the point, it appears that he has since maybe not necessarily denounced those political views, but nonetheless seems to have turned the corner in no longer believing that the way to prosecute his beliefs is by way of using violence, as he did in this case. The other psychological report doesn't seem to suggest that the psychologist is convinced that that has happened. Now that's just one consideration, but the other consideration which called for us to subject him to further intervention is because his own psychologist allude to a case of an unstable, emotionally unstable person, and given the background, we just have to be a little more careful by ensuring that further he's subjected to further psychotherapy and see how that pans out.
Minister, this is interesting to me, and I'm sure many South Africans. If somebody has served their time and they're eligible for parole, can you keep them in jail because of possible psychological instability?
We've had instances of people reoffending after they've been placed on parole. But before I even get that, let's get one thing very clear. When a court sentences you to life, that is the point of departure. You have been sentenced to life and you are actually serving a life sentence. What parole is to simply allow you to continue to serve that sentence, but under more favorable terms, namely serving outside of a correctional center. Doesn't mean that the sentence changes. Now, for you to earn that right or privilege, whichever way you put it, you need to demonstrate that you have been responsive to corrective intervention. That's why we are no longer running a prison system, we're running a correction system. We subject inmates to rehabilitation in order to correct their offending behavior, and we need to satisfy ourselves that we have achieved the objective. Otherwise, we would simply keep people as the sentence states for the duration that the sentence dictates, and that's where the distinction comes in.
Minister, we're running out of time, and I apologize for the audio in your ear and for viewers, but let me throw this in. A court before has found that it was his right, although that was overturned in the Supreme Court. There's been a lot of legal jockeying here. Are you worried that he will win a case in the courts?
I do not concern myself about the prospects of a person's success or failure if they were to take up my decision in court. I focus on the merits of the matter put before me based on the evidence that's before me, and I make a determination accordingly. If a court rules that I was wrong, I will accept that decision. But of course, if I'm not satisfied with the basis on which the court arrives at that decision, and there's room for me to appeal that decision, then I actually do so.
All right, Minister, thank you for that explanation tonight. We'll follow that. That was Justice Minister Masutha.